Hey there, Overwatch students. Welcome to episode 2 of Positioning for Dummies. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the concept of rotation and dynamically adjusting your positioning as your team moves around. This episode will be mostly for tank and support mains, as these concepts are most important to them. So what does the word rotation mean? So rotation in the context of Overwatch means to rotate your team around to face a new threat from a new angle, a pushing team, a Widowmaker, something like that. If you view a team as a medieval army, you have your king in front. That'll be like your Rhine, your main tank, basically. Slightly behind that, you have your short range people, your knights, right? That would be like short range DPS, such as like McCree or Reaper or something like that. Behind them, you might have your supports, your archers, your long range snipers, right? You want to rotate your team around so that you don't have people that are exposed in your backline and you're able to face toward threats and block fire from that angle. So let's do a diagram. So what I've got here is a top-down map of King's Row via a service called Stat Banana. They make a bunch of top-down maps for all the Overwatch maps. I'm going to link where I got it in the description, so you can check that out afterward. But anyway, I've got the first point of King's Row here as a top-down view. And in this example, we're going to assume that your team is on the defending side, so you're trying to protect this point A. And your Reinhardt is holding right here. We'll put a Rhine shield there with a little R for the Rhine. I'm drawing with a mouse, so apologies if it's terrible. And you've got maybe your supports back here around the corner. You've got your DPS maybe on high ground. Draw D for DPS. You got them like this, right? Now the enemy Rhine is going to be positioned right about here as he pushes in. His supports are going to be back here. His DPS are going to be behind him, because that's really the only angle you can take. DPS might also be up here, just potentially. So rotation, if your Rhine needs to pull back for whatever reason, if you've got them, if they're rushing in and your Rhine needs to pull back, rotation is how you do that successfully and safely. So if you have to pull back to here, say Rhine is now holding on the point itself. Enemy Rhine has come in right here. His supports are behind him. And his DPS are also right next to their supports. They're just kind of pushing in as one unit. There might be like a sniper still back here or something, or maybe a sniper has rotated up here or something like that. And then, so for rotation, supports cannot really stay where they are right here because they're exposed to snipers taking high ground here, snipers taking high ground right here. They might get shot if they keep staying on the point. So rotations, what you do is you bring your supports back under, wrong color. You bring your supports back here underneath this archway to where they can escape around back here. They can get health packs and whatnot. And they have cover over here and over into this room, of course, from anyone shooting at them across the point, and they can still see their Rhine to heal him or shoot at him or do whatever needs to be done. And this is basically like rotation, and it's called rotations because the supports, instead of standing here, will rotate this way while the enemy rotates this way, and you create a circle almost. You kind of move around each other. So let's do another example. How could you, as a DPS player, or a tank player, or even a support player, take advantage of enemy repositioning and rotations if you're trying to push into them or defend? We have here a top-down view of Blizzard World first. We will put the attacking team, say that they're going to push on the left side here. So they got their Rhine here, they've got maybe DPS over here, and supports kind of back here, maybe undercover. And then the defending team set up like this. They've got their Rhine facing right here. They've got DPS up here on the high ground, maybe some DPS over here, and then they've got supports kind of back here hanging out. So how can you, as the attacker here, if you're playing McCree or any sort of long-range DPS, how can you take advantage of rotations? Well, when you come up on the left side here, the enemy is going to rotate to put their supports back here and the Rhine up in front here to face you, pretty much. So what you can do is you can open up the angle on their supports by coming around this way, just yourself, just you lonely McCree, and shoot freely onto their supports. Now, some of them might come to punish you. Their DPS might start shooting at you or whatever. They'll fire shots down there in that direction. And then you can just pull back to your team. But the value that you can get from doing that, potentially, right? If you got good aim, if you're Widowmaker or whatever, you can just pop the head of their Ana, and boom, you've basically won the fight. They're down their major healer, right? And the only defense for that would be knowing that you're going to do that and standing here so that you're cut off from line of sight by this little, I guess it's a like shopping area thing, or pulling back here, to create even longer of a sight that would give you a little bit more safety. But you'd have to predict that, so you can take advantage of the mistake made by the enemy in rotating to here by doing what I like to call branching or soft flanking over here to open up the angle onto their supports and kill them, or just DPS or anyone who's backline and exposed. And that wraps up the video. If you've enjoyed or learned something, feel free to leave a like and share with friends who might want to learn about this concept too. If you'd like to check out some of the guides I've written for Overwatch, check out the description. I'll also have a link to where you can find the overhead maps I used in this video there. If you've got any further suggestions for my editing, my sound quality, my video quality, anything else like that, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm definitely new to this and definitely improving, so any feedback is always appreciated.